Welcome, everybody. This is Boulder Insights March Tableau Live. We're so thrilled that you could join us. This is where Chris Cox, our fearless leader, founder, and visionary, we call him our GGTK, a good guy to know. I think you're going to find out that he really is a good guy to know by the time we're done with this call today, too. And myself, I'm our EVP of operations here at Boulder Insight. Both Chris and I are certified consultants, and I've been a certified trainer as well. And we've been doing this Tableau thing, Chris, for over 15 years, and me coming up on a decade. It's been about over 9 years now that I've been using Tableau. So the way I've learned is by making mistakes in Tableau and learning together with the community. And so that's why we have this here for you all, is a chance for you every month to join us and bring your Tableau data visualization, business intelligence questions to us, and we'll do our best to answer them here right on the spot. So today's agenda is first to have our welcome, and we're so glad to have you all here. It looks like we've got another question coming in, so that's fantastic. So we will cover submitted questions, we'll do an open Q&A, and then we'll do a wrap up. And today we have something exciting to offer you that we just got hot off the presses yesterday. So that'll be fun to wrap up with a little offer for you all. That will get you a discount to the TC conference, Tableau Conference 24. So more to come on that. So submitted questions that we've gotten today are around improving workbook efficiency, some Tableau desktop tips, a little bit about Tableau AI and Tableau Pulse, role-based dashboards, some questions around Sankey charts, and then we also had questions around LODs, overlays, and data types. And I think I did see maybe not. I thought I saw Joshua. Yeah, Joshua is here. So we may want to get clarity around the overlays question that you had as well, and make sure that we're answering that. So if your question is not going to be covered in one of these topics, please go ahead and submit them in the chat, and we will get to those today as well. And we will prioritize depending on timing. If there's a question that the person asked it and they're not here, we can actually jump to the open Q&A questions as well. So, all right, with no further ado, I'm going to hop into our first question. And Chris, this question is for you as well as me, I think, but we can talk about this. There was a question that came in through our questions form, and it was anonymous, so we don't know quite who asked this one. But the question was about how to improve workbook efficiency. And this question was, besides using an extract, what are other methods of improving the efficiency of a workbook? So Chris, I'm going to hand this to you, and then I'll chime in with some of my thoughts as well.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so really, there's no kind of one size fits all with making workbooks efficient. You really got to tackle it from all different angles. I kind of like to start with the Tableau server. If you don't know, we actually offer what's called Tableau Server Guard. So it's a little bit of like Tableau's support model, except so instead of you calling us with a question of, hey, I've got a problem, tell me how to fix it, we actually do the actual work for you. So we update the server, we would take care of all these things here on the far left: monitoring disk space, RAM, caching is set up properly, looking at your concurrency. Do you have enough? Do you have enough to handle those things? You don't want to build the church for Easter Sunday service, but you want to make sure you have enough for your spikes. Make sure you have a processes schedule. As far as the subscriptions, I really like to turn those off, to be honest, because the way they work in Tableau is they use the same process that does your extracts. So if you have an extract heavy server, you want to kind of balance those pieces. So even if I turned them on, I'd probably limit the times they could go out. So there's a lot of things around that. Definitely making sure you're up on a current version. I would never say go to the cutting bleeding edge version. I tend to like to be a couple versions behind, so let other people test. That's definitely key. Backups and cleanups on all the servers that we manage in our personal server. We do backups daily, and we do backups, cleanups daily. And there's a difference between if your server is running, and it's not running if you do a cleanup. It clears out different log files. So making sure those happen, because Tableau logs a ton of stuff, and it will, if it starts throwing an error in the background, even though you don't see it on a workbook, it's just going to fill up your disk space. So managing that is really important, because all of those things, even though it's not in the control of the workbook designer, you could design the best workbook, but if your server is not set up properly, it's just not going to be great. So that's one. Let me pause there and let you ask any questions about server stuff before I move on to the next one. Perfect. Silence is, y'all got it. You already know all this stuff. So as far as your workbook efficiency, so if you're a creator, there are a lot of things in your hands to make sure it's as fast as possible. So as far as the design best practices, we like to tend to build workbooks that build dashboards that answer one or two questions. Very often we see people just loading up a dashboard with tons of data, just showing all the data possible, and that just doesn't make sense because people can't focus. So you want to think about, like, if you go to Google, there's one thing you can do with that page. You can search. You can start a search. That's it. So you want to make it simple like that. They go to that dashboard for a specific purpose. Actions versus filters. This is one that's near and dear to my heart, because I absolutely think it's so important. And I think I'll show an example of this one later just to make sure everybody's got it. But I see 9 times out of 10, people tend to use Tableau like Excel, and that's when they use those little drop-down filters. Well, so even though that's intuitive for your end user, because they've seen them 100 times, or probably more than that, those will make your workbook slower, because how Tableau works in the background is every option in every filter multiplied by the number of views that that filter filters to, it's going to go in order. And for every click you make, it's going to recalculate all those options. So if you've ever had a workbook that has 20 filters on the top, which I see it all the time, it's just going to be slow. And so that's the reason why. Actions, if you never use those, you go to dashboard, action, and then you create a filter action. Actions do the exact same thing as drop-down filters, except you click a bar or you click a line chart or an axis to actually run that filter. So those are not pre-calculated because it doesn't know what you're going to click, right? Versus in the drop-down filters, it actually knows all those options. So it will kind of pre-calculate. So the actions are always faster. And the other great thing about actions is because they're in a chart of some sort, then they can be sorted by some sort of measure. Versus filters are always like alphabetical. So I mean, that makes it easy to find, but you typically don't look for, you don't look for what's alphabetically correct. You look for what's the highest or kind of the lowest typically. So that's really a big one for me. Floating versus tiled. Floating is a tiny bit faster, not a lot. But the other thing floating gives you is it gives you the ability to layer your dashboard. So tiled is all one flat layer. So if you notice in all of our dashboards, we kind of use background images, or we call them actually skins. So we use background skins to create a user experience that looks a lot more like kind of a web page. So we use background graphics and stuff to guide your eye, to group objects. And you can do a lot more with that because you're using a creative tool versus trying to make Tableau be that thing, So the first thing I do in every dashboard is I turn off all the lines, all the shading, you name it. I want just the plain graph with no background color, no lines, no shading, nothing. And then I will design a background to layer that on top of. So that's that. So limit marks. So this one I see all the time. We just had a client recently who built a starter dashboard with just a small data set. And at the bottom, they had this huge crosstab with probably 20 columns in it. And it was going to show these patients. And I'm like, well, if this is your default, when you put the big data set on it, which is like 2 million patients, you can't show 2 million rows times 20 columns. That's just too much data to show. And there's no reason for that. So a lot of times doing this guided analytics approach where you might have that bottom section. Let's say that they did need that. They needed that much detail for one patient per row and then 20 columns of all their things, right? Well, instead of showing everything, you show a header at the top of that graph to say, click to show X number of users. And so then all your other graphs drill down that click button to say, okay, well, now once I filter down to, male versus female or certain date range or whatever, that number gets smaller. And then when I click it, I kind of know what I'm getting into. So if it takes a long time to render and I chose to render 500,000 patients, then I can sit there and wait for it, right? So I don't know what this, yeah. So I kind of mentioned the skins earlier. We have a website that's Tableau templates.com. Tableau templates gives you all three Tableau accelerators, which are workbooks that have a skin in them, and they also have a data source. So it's fully built out for you. And typically those are built around some sort of topic, whether that be finance or HR or something like that. So we kind of give our own spin to. So if you're in that area, then this is how that should look. Tableau templates are they have a skin in the background, and we've taken the time to put containers in all of the sections that you would put graphs. So that's kind of good if you're kind of like a medium user. So I would say the accelerators are for the beginners. You need to know how to make calculations. You need to have a good starting place. Like if you're in HR and you need to build an HR dashboard, starting from scratch might be a little daunting, but having a data set that at least gives you some idea, it might not be exactly what you need, but you can start from there. The Tableau templates kind of assume that you know how to write the calculations. You just need help with the design. And then we make it easy for you to drag and drop things into containers and make it simple. And so then the skins are just what I'm saying. You get a whole group of like 80 or 100 skins that are just background images. This is for the person that knows what they're building. They know how to use floating. They can have like the things actually aligned. And then we just give you the background skins to put back behind it. So it makes it nice and neat and looks good. And then typically we do these like if you give us your brand colors, we can do them in your brand. This is not an efficiency, just a pet peeve of mine is people that work in Tableau and don't use background skins tend to default to their company's brand colors for all their color stories in their data. And that doesn't make sense to me because like say if you're actually McDonald's, well your colors are red and yellow. Well, those colors have emotional meanings, and you don't want to use those for data, right? So you want to get back to using colors that are like you. So the background should be your brand. It should look like it's branded for you. And then the data color should be something that's in the same palettes but different. All right, let me pause there because I kind of spent a lot of time on the workbook piece. Anybody have any questions?
And
there?
that was the main question was around workbook. I'm going to go a little deeper into a few things too. And then the final things are if your workbook's not performing beyond that extract technique and the ones we've talked about, you first take a look at your server. You then really look at your workbook efficiency. You also want to think about, is it best to be done in Tableau or should I do this on in the database? And I get that question often, when I was teaching, especially do I do my calculations in Tableau or in the database? So Chris, we often, our technique, and correct me if I'm wrong, We tend to do our calculations first in Tableau. And then once we get that, if we're seeing that efficiencies, performance is an issue, we would then move that calculation to the database.
Correct. Yeah. That's the
you wanna
thing.
talk about-
And really we just do that just for speed. So I can check if a calculation is correct in Tableau faster and then tweak it, versus if I had to go to the database every time and try to write it and then go back to Tableau and check the math, then that's just going to be too much. So I would rather build it first inside of Tableau and then know it's giving me the right answer. Now I can move it to the database and I can check it. So that's that. Also the custom SQL thing. A lot of times if you get somebody who's using Tableau desktop and they come from the data side, then all they want to do is write a custom SQL, because they actually believe, like it kind of used to be, is having a where clause and limiting the data is kind of how you make things faster. Well, that's not really how this actually works anymore. You don't have to do that. And also, if you write custom SQL and also you have a live connection, then you're essentially telling Tableau that you know how to write the SQL that it needs better than it does, and you just don't. There's so many things it does with like join calling and things like that to be able to make it more efficient. So if you're using custom SQL with a live connection, it's probably going to be slower. And the same thing with your database needs to be set up properly. We often will run a query, talk to the DBA or do a SQL trace on it to see what queries it's running, and then we can go in the database and do indexes on those fields. That definitely makes a huge difference. And then the thing Heather talked about is just moving calculations from the workbook to the database. We just did this with a client. We moved a bunch of them over, and it went from like a 40-second runtime down to like 4. So it's huge.
Make a big difference. All right, guys. So that was a very detailed answer, but I think one that we get often. And so we thought today's a good day for us to go deep into that. So hopefully that was helpful. Another question we get often, and this one came in from R. Kent today, is, talking about Tableau desktop tips. So I know you're on the call right now. So if this doesn't answer all your questions, let me know and we can go in a different direction. First place I start with Tableau Desktop is actually not even being on Tableau Desktop. It's to start with knowing your audience and understanding your data. Those things really matter most. I often pull up a picture. I'll try to insert that in here for y'all if I get a chance. Where we have the audience at the center, and you start with the ask at the top of that. You then go to data. You think through your story, you build charts based on your audience and choosing the right chart types. You then are able to have some awareness around lessons and things that you're learning from that. You're always going back to your audience. But if you're doing analysis correctly, you start with a question, you end with actions and answers to that question, and then you usually get more questions that you want to answer. So at the center of the process is always your audience. So who are you building this for, and what questions are they really trying to answer? So the audience and purpose really are important. Understand your data. That's another really big one. You have to know where the audience says the data is. That's one big thing to keep in mind. You also need to know, all of the tips that Chris was talking about from the data standpoint as well. Before you dive into it, you just want to make sure your structure is correct. You understand the data quality, because, the quality of your data will impact the quality out. We often say in the data visualization world, garbage in, garbage out. So you want to have good data in and good data out. One of the key things for Tableau Desktop is you've got to make it interactive. Chris just talked about that, utilizing dashboard actions and parameters. That really, really matters to be able to do that. Not using a bunch of filters is helpful. When you're in Tableau Desktop, there's a whole lot of functions and features. That's the other thing to keep in mind. So if you can leverage Tableau functions like calculations that we talked about, even though if performance is impacted, you may move that to the database, starting in Tableau with calculations is huge. Table calcs are built into Tableau. LODs are called level of detail calculations. Those are super powerful. And like things like the analytics pane and leveraging that can be really powerful too, that it's statistical analysis built into the data pane. So I always recommend anywhere that you can use a feature in Tableau, that it's super helpful to do that, or a function that's built in. The other two things then is, and Chris touched on this a bit too, but embracing data viz best practices is really helpful. Just some high level things to keep in mind is you want to choose the right chart type. And so, knowing your audience matters too. And so there's different chart types. For instance, for seeing the breakdown of a whole, you could do a pie chart, but if your boss really hates pies, you might want to do a donut chart instead, or even a tree map. That's a way to break it down. If you have a group of academics, they may really love to see viewing the distribution of the data as a histogram, or maybe a box and whisker chart if they're academically inclined. If they're not, you stick to that normal bell curve to the histogram. Really important piece that we see all the time is you want to simplify and declutter it. Do not feel like you have to put every single thing into one dashboard. When you go back to your audience and you focus on that purpose, what are you trying to answer with this dashboard? Keep it simple, decluttered, only label things once. If you have a title, that's great, but you might not need to label the axes. If you're going to label the actual bar charts, then you don't have to have the axes on there. So you want to keep it clean, simple, and decluttered. Use your color strategically and tell a story. And so leveraging these design best practices, leveraging the Tableau templates that we talked about is a great way to be able to do that, but you want to tell a story with it. And then one of the most important things that I can say with Tableau Desktop, and not just Tableau Desktop, but Tableau in general, the secret sauce to Tableau compared to any of the other data visualization things that are out there is the Tableau community. It is tremendous. There are all kinds of things beyond this Tableau Live. If you just go to the Tableau community and start joining the newbie group, if you're new, or the higher ed group, there's all kinds of different Tableau user groups that are out there. And you can put in questions and they will help you. So I always say that the best way to learn Tableau is to play with it. And the best way to play is with a friend. So don't forget, we're your TFF. So bonus, if anybody can put into chat, what is a TFF? Why are we your TFFs? This is some bad data humor that I use often when I'm teaching and talking about Tableau.
I don't know if I heard this joke.
No one. Tableau friends forever. So just like a BFF, we're your TFF. Good job. Art can't put that in there. Thank you. So did that answer your question? Is there more that you'd like us to get into around Tableau Desktop specifically? Do you want me to open it up, show some of the features and functions that we talked about?
No, I think that was very good. Thank you, Heather and Chris. Appreciate it. So I do have a question. So we're also thinking of, so I use Tableau quite a bit, but mostly for our static views. We create PDFs from it. So that's a really good functionality that we like, where we set everything up. You can do all the calculations. We do a lot of risk calculations and things of that nature.
Okay.
So yeah. Tableau definitely is very useful to assimilate all the data and display it in the format that, I mean, there are some bottlenecks, I'd say, once in a while, but all in all, it's a fantastic tool. But we were thinking about moving to Tableau Server. What advantages would Tableau Server? I guess that's more for a dynamic where where data is pushed to the server and you can then display it on a web page somewhere or something to that effect. Is that really the only reasons why somebody would use a server, or is there?
Yeah, no. The main reasons why you use a server is for a security and automation. Right. So if you have, if you're just using desktop, then you're having to manually actually refresh your data every day, or every time that you want to do an update.
Right.
So, and then also too, you can't lock your actual desktop file. So if you email that file to somebody and it's got extracted data in it, then whoever you send it to is going to get your data. Right.
Right.
So those are the main reasons, is really to be able to create the dashboard once and then have other people use it. And then, but you have them log into Tableau Server. So now you have security behind it.
Okay.
And also your Tableau server can go do the updates for you on a schedule.
And then other people can access it as viewers. They can have that viewer privilege with the security. And then if you have explorers, you can actually publish data sources that are vetted, that are cleaned, that are, ready to go, that you have made sure that data is correct. And then they can build charts from that data that you've published, but only that data. So that's another reason that you
the other
see
thing it
server.
lets you do with Tableau server is if you're generating PDFs, that's something that we do quite often. So a lot of times, let me back up a little bit. So the only negative with actually Tableau server is if you want people to log in, you're going to have to, at a minimum, buy a login for each person. Okay. So if you're sending your PDFs to like 1,000 people, but you don't want to buy logins for those, then we actually have a product called VisBot. VisBot leverages your Tableau server with a single user login, and then it downloads that dashboard as a PDF, and then just sends that out. So we've kind of worked through ways around that, because a lot of people do reporting still. If you ask anybody at Tableau, they think everybody needs to have interactive visualizations. I'm kind of in the middle. I think that there's a lot of people that don't need them, and there's a lot of people that do. So that's the reason why we built this product.
And it's been
Thank you.
super helpful to be able to do that. Ideally, if they can be interactive, that's always best. But you're right, Chris, they're just people who aren't ready for it to be interactive, or like you were talking about, Kent, that it's just not what they're used to, and so they're used to you filtering it and giving them just what they need. So if you have data that is public facing, and you want to embed into a website and things, you can actually use Tableau Public. And then if it's not confidential data, there's no security around it. It's data that can be shared with the public. We work with an organization called the Colorado Health Foundation. This is our 5th year working with them on a dashboard called Pulse Poll. That is all done through Tableau Public, because it's public facing data, and they actually want the results of their survey and the work that they do every year to be shared. So that's something that, all of that has been done using Tableau Public, and getting an embed code to be able to embed that. So
the other thing I'll tell you is that
questions.
if you're thinking about Tableau server, definitely set up a little meeting with me, and let me walk you through. I have a really good spreadsheet that explains all the different types of Tableau servers, because there's actually more than you think. There's a lot of nuances to it, and it took me years to be able to explain it, and I just now did it for the team recently. So that'd be something good to kind of walk you through, just to kind of help you like pick what you actually need.
Yeah, what's the right fit for you? Okay, so Chris, before I jump into the next set of questions around Tableau Pulse and things, I think what I'd like to do is take one of the questions from people that are here right now. So Lily had a question that came in, and she's asking, is there a way to scrub HTML code from imported data to remove the formatting instructions?
Sure, there is. That would probably be a whole Python thing to do that. I'm sure it's doable, because there's nothing that's not doable. We would just have to look at your code and see what happens. So let me ask this question. So is your data coming in like that? I mean, just kind of constantly? Is it just always coming in with, wrapped in HTML?
So, there's a product that we use, Clear Impact, and when we import or when we export data from it, certain fields that come through with the HTML, like instruct the code in it. And so we were like trying to figure out, and so we exported to Excel, and we were trying to figure out how to like remove it easily. And then we were like, oh, I wonder if like Tableau Prep or something like that could like easily if we could easily scrub that from it.
I don't know if it's probably the best thing to do. Is like this it?
Yeah,
This is it. Let me look at this. So what I would say is if you're exporting data, that's still manual, right? So what
yeah, so it's data that a bunch of people are reporting into, and we have these like individual note fields where they can just like write text, and it's an HTML field that can be like formatted.
Gotcha.
And so when you export it, it's fully, so they use reports through .NET reports.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
it's
so-
pulling reports through .NET.
gotcha. Yeah, so that's all right. So here's actually the problem. The problem is, and this is where people get into trouble, is so pretty much every product out there, if you're getting your data from a report standpoint, then that actual report is meant to be read, to be read by a person, not like Tableau. So not only you're going to deal with your HTML, you're going to deal with probably the data is not actually lined up properly. And so a lot of times we'll take something like this, and that's why I wanted to go look to see if they have like an API, because I mean, pretty much every product that we deal with, we kind of use it to get data in. So even like Salesforce for us is just a way to get data in, but then we hit the API to pull the data out, right? So same thing with our whole CRM. Our CRM Scoro used to get data in, but then we use the API to pull it out. And then what we end up doing with it is we build we kind of build this data warehouse. And I'll kind of show you the piece that you're talking about. But I think if you use the API, you're not going to get the HTML, because the report you're dealing with was not meant for what you're using it for. You know,
Chris,
so
I
what
put in a .NET report link for you in chat too, if you.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I'll
so
see
this
if I
is
can see if
this is
they have
kind
an
of an
API.
example. Yeah, this is kind of the example of what we do from the beginning, because everybody's got a bunch of different data sources, and you're going to have different rules or different data that needs to be cleaned. As far as prep, the reason why I don't love prep is because one, you have to pay for the conductor, right? So if you want it to be actually automated, you have to pay extra. You can build it in prep, and that's all free. But as soon as you want it to happen on a schedule, you got to buy another product. So I would actually rather just do that once in Python and just be done with it. So like, for example, this would be your like clear impact database. So we pull down just the raw data as we need. Then we would use some other tool. I think I even have Tableau prep here listed, but I probably wouldn't use that. We probably use a Python, but there's a myriad of tools that will either cleanse your data or pivot it or do whatever you want. So it's just whatever you're kind of actually comfortable for. But all your different data sources should come down as a raw data set. And the reason why is that you want to run a check like right in this area. You want to make sure, hey, did it come down or not? Then you have other checks at every single spot. Okay, did it actually kick off my ETL? Did it get into my staging temp properly? And I have some checks that happen here to make sure the data looks right. And then from there, we just move it over to our whole production table. Now this has been cleansed. It's kind of aligned. I have fixed problems like in your clear impact database, you might have last name, comma, first name. But in some other in your HR database, you have first name, last name. So fixing those things is what we end up doing. And then now building your dashboards against a data set that is built for it is actually easy. You know, but you're probably making your dashboard builds harder because you're trying to go from here straight to here, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we were just like trying to clean it in Excel, and then we were like, oh, I wonder if in Tableau, if that would be an easy place to just clean it and like scrub it. And we're like, oh, we'll ask.
yeah, what I would actually tell you is that you're not going to have to clean it if you go to the API.
Okay.
Because that's going to come out clean already. The reason why you're cleaning is because you're doing a report, and so that report is not meant to put into this BI tool. So you're going to spend way more time cleaning it than you should.
And Lily, we
Okay.
can support you with that. If you don't have developers on your team that can do that, you can just reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you with the API connector. We have developers on our team that can do that. Rule of thumb with Tableau and data, guys, is the rawer the data, the better. So if you can get to that raw data, not have it formatted neatly in a Tableau Excel, in an Excel spreadsheet or something, you're always better to get to that raw data. That was one of the very first lessons that I learned in Tableau too. So let me go back to sharing my screen. So we did get a question from Nikila. Let me present this back into a full screen. Around Tableau AI and Tableau Pulse. And I'm going to be honest with you all. It's pretty new with Tableau. It just came out a couple weeks ago, and it's available only on Tableau Cloud. So we're still learning and playing with it ourselves. And so my best piece of advice to you all, this is a great webinar that Tableau put on and Salesforce. And I have a link to this. We will be sending out the PowerPoint from this to you all. So you can check out this webinar for all the details. They do a really great job. This is a Colorado buddy of ours, George Peck. And if you want to fast forward just to where he's talking about Tableau Pulse and how it works, you can do that as well. But there's some nice introductions from the other two speakers too. And George has got a great DJ voice, so he's very soothing to listen to if you want to watch it and learn about it. Some of the other things that it's doing, it's available in mobile. It's going to be improving dashboard monitoring and alerts. It's starting to give data quality warnings and better collaboration and communication tools. Those are some of the key highlights that are there. So just check this out. Let me hit escape and make sure that link is going to work for you all. I'll even put this link into the chat for you all so you don't have to wait to get the email from us with the recording and all. So I'll put this into everyone, but this is a great webinar. I've watched it myself and we're learning. Now, when we talk about AI, one of the other things with AI that's really critical and important and that we're starting to leverage more and more as a company is machine learning. And so going even deeper beyond Tableau Pulse, is being able to use machine learning to start to go through, as Chris was talking about, all of the different combinations. Where we're most excited to start using this is with some of our clients that are working with bladder cancer, renal cancer, prostate cancers, and we're being able to look at patient journeys now for the first time and seeing if you start to use this methodology, this treatment protocol, these testings, this combination of treatments, you can double the life expectancy for someone or extend by 5 years or a year. And so that's the stuff we're getting really excited about. And we're partnering with a really great company that we will start offering machine learning and to go with a lot of our dashboards. So we're super excited about that. All right, next question. We're moving right along. I think we do have Nikila. Is she on this call today? Let me look at our pieces all about role-based. She's not right now. So let me go to the next question. We did get a chart and we'll come back to the role-based things. I know last month we talked about role-based permissions and things. So we'll come back to that if we have time. I know we're continuing to move along and have some more questions to answer. So this question came in from Joshua, and Joshua, I know is still here now talking about possibly having to leave early. So I thought we could jump to Joshua's questions. This is, he had a question around Sankey charts. So Chris, I will click on this first one. This is a Sankey chart that Chris did a long time ago. I went back and looked, it was 2017 when we first published this one. So Chris, maybe you want to talk about Sankey charts a little bit. I'll put this link in the chat as well for you guys if you want to check this out.
Yeah, I was just looking to, because it looks like, because they used to have it on Tableau. It was just recent, not more than 6 months ago, I feel like. On Tableau Public, they had a Sankey chart option, but it's not there now because I was going to do one live for you. This one was super hard. So how you do these, let me share my screen so I can share the background.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that.
Let's see if I can just get in here and do a. Come on. Let me share. No. I'm clicking, it's not doing anything. There it goes, finally. Okay. Okay. You see my screen or no? Nope. See the
Yep,
wrong.
we see it.
Wrong. Nope, that's
It's
the
on
wrong.
Tableau Live.
That's the wrong screen. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, that one's right here. I think you're seeing the right thing now. Yeah. Okay. So I'll go in and edit this guy here. If I can. Can I still edit here? Yeah. Okay. So these are super hard to build. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. You've got to write calculations for all the curves and all the stuff. So going through and you got this like sigmoid function that you put in here. Let's look at that one. But it was I don't even remember what else this did. I had to follow like a whole tutorial, and it was very, very detailed, and even making it work was not simple. But you need all these things, you need different levels to make it do the stuff it's supposed to do. But I think at the end of it, it's just kind of confusing. It's a really hard chart to really dive into. So I think it looks super cool, but I wouldn't say it's something that I have ever felt, man, I really need to have that chart. I think I could tell a better story with bar charts, to be honest. Because and it's hard. I mean, because you want to balance between telling the right story and also making it look good, right? This looks super cool, but if I had to ask you questions about it and had to say, hey, give me the top 5 office supplies that go through this, it would be tough for you to do, right? And so it's hard. And so if you get down to like one of the things Heather mentioned of knowing your audience, knowing what the ask is, well, their ask is probably going to be something around what's the best or what's the worst, and then what do I change? Well, if you can't answer those questions quickly with a chart, then it's not kind of the right chart. And even though I've seen these beautiful charts out there, I find it hard to be able to give you those answers. So anyway, I was hoping I could show you how to build one. Tableau Public used to have, it used to show up right here. It used to show up there because they had the density one still here. But they used to have a Sankey one option here. There's also a product that you can buy. As you see, I was searching for. I was like, hey, it was on Tableau Public. There's also Tableau has they have some what's it called? They have let's see, resources probably. There is the Tableau Exchange. So these are the kind of accelerators, but they also have in here, they have some kind of not skins. There's these kind of extensions. So I think that there is kind of an extension you can buy for that. Let me just search here. SANKUI. I'm pretty sure there's an extension in here you could buy that will help you do it. Yeah, there you go, right there. So this is one that you could buy. Looks like it's not even cost you, because this is actually by them. So this is actually free. So this will get you there. So if you want to build one, I would definitely recommend doing this versus building it like mine, because it takes forever and it's a house of cards. If this is the same one that was on Tableau Public, my only negative with it was I really could not control the colors well. It didn't give me a lot of options for that, so I couldn't do all the things I wanted to do to make it pretty. It kind of defaulted to some stuff. So I haven't checked this one out, but at least it's here. The only other negative about this is depending on how anal your server admin is, a lot of them will not let you have these extensions because they feel like that installing the extension on the server makes it less secure. But I don't really know that's the case, but I have like heard that before. So I'll stop, I'll kind of put this in the chat as well for you.
And then we do have, we do have another link as well to an article from Tableau too, that gives some more information. But why don't we talk a little bit though about why people use Sankey charts in the first place? Chris, do you want to cover off on that and things? It's really to see the flow of how people are going. So
yeah, you want to see kind of the relationships and kind of transitions between one thing and another. That's what you're looking for. Like this example that they have on the site is a good way to look at that. But it just really kind of depends on your data. Let me share this one. So this one is pretty simple. So we can see that like a technology. I don't even know what we're talking about here. So we're looking at, I guess, sum of quantity. So most of technology spend is going into the standard class versus I got a little bit going into the second class, very little going same day, and then going in first class. So this is probably actually shipping, right? Yeah, category to ship mode. And then of the ship mode, the standard class goes to all these different regions. Well, that's a little bit tough to see. I hope I can click on this. I can probably get a better idea about what's happening. I guess this is not a live one, but normally you go click onto this, you get to see those gray or those green bars a little bit easier. But I just think like this right in here gets a little bit messy to answer those questions. So that's really all.
It definitely would never do a Sankey on its own. Pairing it with other charts can be more impactful than to be able to do that. So remember, it's a very beautiful visual art option to be able to use in Tableau, but you want to make sure your end users understand what's happening with that. So hopefully that answered the question there.
All right, yeah, next one.
Yeah, so Josh, let me go back. Let's see, I'll pull up my screen. So this is another knowledge-based article here. Let me go ahead and open that up for y'all. And this is talking about the pilot on Tableau Public. Chris, it was on Tableau Public as a pilot back in 2023, but maybe that's why we're not seeing it anymore. But this is the article about that. And I will put this into everyone. I think it could make a great visual of SFDC lead path. Yeah. I think you're right, Josh. I think that could be so awesome. It just, again, remember, pair it with other things. So the other question then that Josh had, Chris, was talking about LODs, overlays, and data types. So I didn't want to clutter this slide with a whole bunch of information on it. Now, I asked Josh for some details on overlays as well. And he had shared when he's talking about overlays, he is talking about where he needs to put something like congressional districts, like geometrical shapes over a standard map of accounts and opportunities to help decision making. So why don't I know we've been in our slides so much, why don't I stop sharing my screen and Chris, maybe we pull up Tableau and show an LOD. Let's work on that. And if I don't know the best answers to the overlays. And then Josh, while we've got you, data types, if you want to, while Chris is pulling that up, if you don't mind coming off mute and letting us know what you meant by data types. Do you mean the different data types you can connect to? What was your clarity on that question?
Yeah, thank you so much for all the stuff you're doing, first of all, but just any kind of guides, everything. And just from time to time, I'm sure it's really basics of making sure that I'm looking at the right kind of type when making the formula, looking at the right kind of type when put together a dashboard, all that kind of stuff of sometimes even down to discrete versus continuous or ATTR versus the other stuff. So any kind of encyclopedia, dictionary, word for dummies, all that stuff.
You got it. Okay. Yeah. So Chris, where do you want to start with the questions that Josh had?
Yeah, I'll start with the level of detail. This is an example I use to really kind of poke holes in like the power like BI people, because this is a function. So that product can't actually do this. So a question would be something like this. Let's say I have customers, right? and I want to count all my customers. And I want to know of those customers, how actually many bought every year. So let's look at order date, right? I'll just do it by year. It's going to change it to a line. I'll put it back as a bar. Okay. So a very common question would be, okay, of the 1,130 that bought in 2010, how many of those people also bought in 2011, 2012, and 2013? Now I could do this, and now I could do this by putting all the customer names on there and kind of coloring by that, but that's going to get super messy, and I don't really need to know that. Like I can't do that. I can tell you Alex Tate. I can't even see him. He's too small. Let's try to get a group of them. Yeah, so I got a couple here. I could probably figure it out. Alan Atkins, maybe I've got him again. I mean, it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be hard to figure that out. And it's even thinking about that question. I mean, it's a great question, and that's something that we should know. But even trying to do that in Excel, I would kind of struggle with it. I would end up doing VLOOKUP after VLOOKUP of different years. Well, so in Tableau, you can do these level of detail calculations. I've already got it written probably, but I'll go ahead and write it from scratch for you. So all you have to do, and kind of the key is, instead of having the customer name inside your dashboard, you're going to do a fixed, make it as big as I can here. So you're going to do a fixed calculation, and this is what Tableau does. They have a fixed, they have an include, and they have an exclude. Those are the three types. And I'll go ahead and pull up that top 15 thing, Heather. We'll show them that next.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great one.
So you're going to do fixed, and I want to fix this calculation at the name of the customer. Now I could do customer ID, but since I did name up here, I'll just use that. And then all you do, you're saying, okay, I want to say by customer name, give me the minimum of their order date. So just give me their first actually one. That's it. Okay. So now, so even though I do not have this dimension inside my view, I can still use it. So this is going to say, I just drag this to color now, and now it's going to tell me exactly what I want to know. 499 of my 1,130 bought actually year 2. 493 of the 1,130 bought year 3. And here, so and then this is also what I can see, which is kind of neat, is okay. So this is great. And if I don't have this on here, I think, man, we're doing great in sales. Sales is rocking. Well, it's not really. So if I go back and I say, well, whoever's in charge of new sales did great year 1, did worse year 2, worse year 3, and even worse year 4. So bringing in new customers, because this is the first time the orange showed up. That's the first year that they happened. So those are 714 new customers. So what did you do wrong in year 2, 3, and 4? Even though your overall customer base went up, but that's because these people bought over and over and over. You know, so that's something quickly you can find. And then, you know, like Heather was saying, you want to kind of pair these with different charts. So I'd want to pair, and I'll get into the actions versus say I want profit, sales by customer name, right? So I'll draw me a little graph here, and I'll be anal, and I'll color it by profit so we can see who's profitable. And we see that Bonnie Matthews Rowland's not going to get a fruit basket from me at Christmas because she's costing me
Not
$7,000.
this year.
No, sir.
This year.
Right.
No holiday gifts.
So then, then you bring these into the dashboard, and I'm going to do what I told you not to do and tile it. But so we'll do that and get rid of the stuff. Of course, I'm sure. Don't ever ask me again. Okay, so now, I can do a couple things. So now I can say, I want to create this as kind of a filter, and click that filter button. So now if I wanted to look at that 714 users, I can do that. So now that's going to drill down, or get some smaller set. Here's of the 182, right? So now instead of me having a filter on trying to filter it down, I'm actually using an action as a filter. Now I kind of cheated by clicking that button, but this is something that you really need to study because this is super, super, super powerful. actions over here. So you get a dashboard actions, and then it'll pull up a chart that it hid somewhere on my computer. Let me find it. There it is. Back
Chris,
up.
this will have to be our last lesson for today, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
no.
have to wrap it up. And Josh, we promise next Tableau Live, we'll get to your overlays and data types question as well. We'll make sure to cover that in our next one. But yeah,
So,
go ahead, Chris. I'll let
Yeah,
you
this is
wrap
all
up
it is.
dashboard action.
So yeah, so a filter action. So I normally start out with like an all to all if we can, and then we drill it down. So this is saying a source sheet. So whatever you're clicking on select, and then it's going to target all actually sheets. And when I clear the filter, it's going to show all cumulative values again. That's basically all I need. So now if I want to say, okay, who's not profitable and who bought, just lasso those users, and I can tell you, well, 192 of those came from year one, right? So I can tell you who's not profitable. So, and I know that my overall was 1,000. So I only have 192 of my year one people that are not profitable. You know,
Yeah,
so
fascinating.
really
this-
quick way to do analysis and figure things out.
And this
So-
is something we're diving into Looker with for one of our potential clients, and LOD expressions is another one of the things that Looker Data Studio, which used to be called Google Data Studio, can't do this either. So one of the ways where Tableau is really superior in that regard to be able to do that. So so let me go ahead.
Put
I
in the
am going to
chat,
share.
you put the top 15 LOD
I
things.
did. I put in one of our oldies but goodies. The top 15 LOD expressions is in the chat as well. That's one of our favorite pieces. I know that we didn't have time to go over role-based dashboards, so I put in more detailed notes into this slide. So when we send it out, there's some best practices around it, and I'll make sure to put a link into one of my favorite knowledge-based articles around that. And we'll go into overlays and data types next session. But for this one, I don't want you all to leave without getting this code for you. So if you want to go to TC and you haven't registered yet, this is Tableau Conference. I'm putting in this code as well into the chat for you. You can also screenshot this right now. This is the discount code that will get you 35% off. And the big news that Chris and I want to share is we're presenting this year. So if we are presenting a breakout session, that's a 40-minute breakout session. So there's 20-minute sessions in 40 minutes. We'll be doing one of the 40-minute sessions, and it's called From Zero to Hero. So if you're already registered and you didn't get to take advantage of the discount, look up our workshop. The library of for the conference is up and live now. So please be sure to come check us out. And if you are there, make sure to introduce yourself to us, because we love that you attend our Tableau Live sessions, but we never get to see people in person. So that would be great. So we're going to be in San Diego, April 29th through May 1st. We don't know which days and times we're presenting yet. We just got the course catalog yesterday, but it will be hot off the presses, and we'll be sure to let you know. Here is our session. It's all about mastering Tableau with templates and design. So Chris went into accelerators and templates and skins. We're going to talk about human-centered design principles, how to use those and leverage this to build the best dashboards to take you from zero to hero doing it. So we're super excited about that. And we are so grateful, as always, that you all come back and join us. And so please join us again next month. You just go straight to that same link that you found or through our emails and join us next month.